Thank you very much for the interest in our initiative. I would like to ask you first to introduce yourself as a scientist, and can you tell us briefly about your career?
So my name is Damya Laoui. I'm a bioengineer. I studied at the Vrije Universiteit in Brussels, and I also did my PhD in immunology at the same university. I really focused on tumor immunology and macrophages and my favorite cells, the dendritic cells. Then I went for a short postdoc at the EPFL in Switzerland. I was happy enough to secure money when I was there to come back with quite some money so that I could immediately become a team leader when I was back in Belgium. And 5 years ago, I started my tenure track. So hopefully, if everything goes well, end of the year I will be tenured and remain a scientist forever.
Oh, that's very good. Congratulations. Well, in short time, I can tell that you are accomplished scientist, and in my opinion, for many junior scientists, your career stage is a goal. But can you tell me what you want to do beyond that when you are tenured? Do you have any plans, like what to do next?
So basically, I want to continue what I'm doing. I think I acquired a very nice team. So we have 16 people, but it's maybe a bit too big. So I will reduce, if I can, to an optimal size of 12, 14 scientists. So yeah, we work on dendritic cell vaccinations. We will continue to do a lot of fundamental work, but our dream is really to bring something to the clinic. So that's my long-term vision, that we can really translate our fundamental science into a clinical setting. And I hope that within I don't know how many years we will achieve this.
And so do you think about, for example, going to the industry a bit more, like getting a spin-off company?
We actually applied, for a lot of things, we patent our findings. Some months ago, we applied for a national funding to get, let's say, a startup package to start a spin-off within the 5 years. So for some things, we think about industry, yes.
Switching a bit the topic, apart from your contribution to the immunology or cancer immunology, you are also a mother of 2 children. Can you tell me when did you have your children?
So I had my first child in the 4th year of my PhD, and then my daughter, I got her when I was abroad during my postdoc.
Okay, so that could be quite tough for the early career scientist.
To be honest, I think it's the best moment. But if you want children for the girls in my team, I really try to facilitate their life so that they can have their first child during the PhD, because I think the more you grow in the scientific career, the more responsibilities you get, the less time you actually get. So I think it's better to have your children a bit earlier. And now, for example, I have much more responsibilities and so on, but my children are a bit older, so they can, help themselves out with a lot of things. So I think it's better to have them earlier than later.
It's an interesting perspective for the scientist, because some people think that it will be almost like you won't have any children until you are, 40. That's very nice advice, I would say. Do you think being a mother changes anything for a scientific career?
Yeah, obviously it makes everything a bit more complicated, especially when you like to, spend very long days in the lab. You have to be much more organized. But for me, it helps me also a lot to get a bit more balance in my life, because I used to go a bit crazy in the lab and do long hours and not sleep that much. But now, I try to be home at normal times, and even if sometimes, I will work again in the evening, it really gives me more perspective. Also, when your science is sometimes not going well, a lot of experiments fail, some papers don't get out, you also have something else in your life. So that's really helps me a bit. Yeah.
Can you recall any particular moment when you felt that your university or employer was supporting you as a parent?
What I was very lucky of is that in my university you can be pregnant and continue to work, which might be obvious, but for example in another university in Flanders, when you get pregnant you can't go in the lab anymore. So this means that as a woman you have enormous career breaks, which is really awful if you're, a young scientist and you know that you will be out for more than a year. So my university was very supportive. They put everything in place to make it safe, so that I knew exactly this I can do, this I have to stop doing, and I also had a buddy system so that I had someone who could help me for dangerous parts of some protocols. So this is something that was really helpful. So now, for example, we still don't have an appropriate room. So typically women that are breastfeeding, they come in my office, so then I move out for a while. Still, it's not the easiest solution, because they always have to knock, and then for them it's also not that easy. We should have this in place. And also another thing that is still a bit missing, I think, when you write a CV and you apply for a grant or for any position, you put the career breaks you have, but I'm not sure it's really looked at. I mean, a lot of committees in grants, when we compare CVs together, often people really don't look at the fact that people have been out for, 2 or 3 times several months. We should really emphasize this.
Can you think about any personal support you got from your coworkers or colleagues? Because I can see that you are giving personal help for your colleagues, but what kinds of you got?
So I was lucky that I was in a nice environment where my PhD promoter was supportive, but I know in my same department there were 3 other promoters, and 1 or 2 of them were really against their people having children. So I it's a natural thing. I don't really have advice, but I think that we really should help people who want to have children to make their life easier, in the sense that they can still work, but that they are feeling safe. And I also think, because it is sometimes forgotten, young fathers, for them it's also not always easy, because as a young woman you can say a bit more easily, today I'm leaving earlier because I have to pick up my child. A man, for them it's sometimes still more difficult to say this, because culturally it's not always accepted. And so I think we should really make this more normal, that good fathers also exist and that they should be respected.
That's very nice. Can you tell me about any initiatives from your funding body? Because you are funded from a few sources. Do you think there's any initiative in the funding bodies which helps you as a parent with caring responsibilities?
To be honest, I don't think there is a lot of support, besides the fact that they extend the granted the contracts, or the fact that you can apply, for example, in a junior category a bit longer when you have a child, like the ERC is doing. But I don't think there is more support than this.
And do you think there's any need, or it's very difficult to do anything systematically?
I'm not sure what they could implement. What I would really like to see happening, but that's more on a European structural thing. I believe that to have a more equity in our job functions, if the men should have also the same amount of time off as women, like they have in the Nordic countries, I think it would be better, so that we don't have this disadvantage to be out for so long. So this is something I would recommend, so that the fathership leave, I don't know how it's called, but that this is something that should be prolonged, also, for example, in Belgium or in other countries.
You are also not only a scientist mother, but you are also advocate for equality and diversity, which I can see from your responses about new fathers. And can you tell us, why did you get involved in this type of initiative?
I got involved because, as you know, there is still a big gender gap at some levels, and the higher you get, the more, let's say, white men you still have on the highest positions. So I got really interested in why this is happening. And so with the Young Academia of Belgium, I got involved in several initiatives. And I think for me it was really important to, you can be a scientist, but you're still a human. And so you have to feel right, you have to have a nice environment that is supportive for all the parts of yourself, and not only the scientific mind you have, but also the fact that you're a woman, that you might be from a migration background as I am. I think the power that you get, as when you become a professor, suddenly some people start listening to you, that you can use this power to try to implement some rules or some, give some advice to people to make it easier for everyone.
Is there any structure for this kind of role?
For example, with the Young Academy of Belgium, what we did is that we discussed with the 5 Flemish universities. We discussed with all the rectors, so the heads of the universities, and we also made some kind of charter with really kind of rules that we had to implement within 5 years to try to close the gender gap a bit more. And so these were really concrete rules, like what should be implemented in hiring procedures, if there are committees, how should they be composed. And then you have to really watch out, because you can say we want to have people of different genders, but then you should also see that if as a female you're a minority, that you don't get extra work because of these things. So we really try to see what was possible and not. But now these rules have been implemented and the universities signed this, so they really have to follow these things and really make an effort, also provide a budget to fill in these gaps. So that's how structurally we try to make a change.
And you said 5 years, so is there any review coming soon?
So every 2 years.
That's also extra work for you.
Well, there are other people who do that. But so every 2 years it's reviewed.
How big is the team then who gets to do this task?
Well, so the Young Academy, we were 50, but we worked on different topics, but we were like 15 to work on that topic. Yes. But then it's up to the university themselves to implement their own teams. And so we just ask them for kind of documentation. Let's say, what have you implemented? How did your numbers change and so on? But that's not our job. Our job is just to check that they do it.
Do you think is it easy or maybe difficult to speak up for women or maybe men now, as you said that they are also maybe not that showed up, well, there's not that many people who would support them?
I think it depends on your character, right? For me, it's not difficult to speak up. For example, if you want to speak up for women, it can also have a very good or maybe a stronger impact if you do it together with men, so that you really see it's not a women-only problem, it's a societal problem that we should tackle if there are inequalities. I don't know if it's difficult or not. I don't feel the difficulty and it shouldn't be.
And do you have any professional advice for new parents?
Well, I would just say that your life always goes first before your profession. And so if you want to have children, then you should not think too much about whether it will go well or not with the PhD or the postdoc, and just go for it and make sure that everything else works around it, but that you don't put this too much in question. Actually, it's a personal advice. That's not a professional advice.
So coming back to you as a scientist, what would you call your biggest achievement as a scientist?
That's a difficult one. Yeah, for working in the tumor immunology field, yeah, we have worked a lot on dendritic cell heterogeneity, and the fact that we showed that we could use tumor-derived dendritic cells as a new type of vaccine, I think this is my main scientific achievement.
What would be your biggest achievement as a group leader?
The fact that I got nominated from my university as one of the best mentors by my team members was one of the things that made me cry not so long ago. We managed to generate a very nice environment, a very good team. I really love my team members, and they're very happy to come to work, and they do plenty of things outside. So a lot of things without me, because I have to take care of my kids, let's say. No, I think to have people happy to come to their work, even if it's a tough work, I think that's my main achievement.
And what is your favorite aspect of the scientific job?
What I really like a lot is, at this moment when you do an experiment, or when your student does an experiment and calls you, and at that moment you know something that no one else in the world knows. This really gives me this kind of empowerment feeling. I'm the only one on earth that knows this thing. This I really love.
I would like to know, because you also, I went through your publications, and they're also around ovarian cancer, breast cancer. So is it inspired you as a woman, or just in general? Because they are also very uncurable.
It's a bit by chance, because we also work a lot on lung cancer. Basically, we started working on breast and lung cancer because we had very good connections with clinicians who were able to give us samples from patients, and this was really nice so that we can correlate our mouse data with patients' data. And ovarian cancer is because it's very difficult to cure, so that's one of the reasons. But it's mainly because of good connections with clinicians rather than the biological sex.
Thank you very much. I think you're a very fascinating person, and having heard about your team and your achievements, I'm very impressed, and I think everyone here who will listen to that will be also very impressed, and maybe will be inspired to work with you. So thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.